Hey friends, welcome back to 6 Hearts on 6 Acres. Thank you so much for being here with me today. As a mama to 4, I spend a huge amount of my time in the kitchen every single day pretty much, whether that is just preparing our meals or packing lunches or making snacks. I try to make most of our bread. I spend a lot of time here so that my family gets to eat whole, clean, nourishing, for the most part healthy. We do a lot of baking as well that I definitely wouldn't call healthy, but healthier than store-bought. And so a lot of my time is spent in the kitchen, and I thought I would bring you along with me today. I am getting ready to make some sandwich bread for us for the week. I'm going to make some pumpkin spice granola to go on top of our homemade yogurt that I showed you how to make a few videos back. We're going to make some pumpkin spice creamer for my coffee. And then I saw a healthier treat that I wanted to try and make. They are like a healthy version of Snickers. So we're going to try and whip that out today as well. And I'm going to bring you along with me as I get all of that done. The liquid base of this bread is milk. I am doubling this recipe so that I can make 2 loaves. Those are some loud birds. So I can make 2 loaves of bread. And so to do that, I also need 4 tablespoons of butter. I use salted. And then we are going to warm these ingredients up in the microwave really quickly. You don't want them hot. This is what we're going to add our yeast to. And if you get it too hot, you can kill your yeast. We just want it warm to the touch. Our milk and our butter are warm now. Not even warm enough to completely melt this butter. I just like it warm to the touch. That butter will get melted and incorporated as we move along in the process. We're going to add 4.5 teaspoons of yeast to this mixture. And then we'll give it a stir and let it proof. Honey is our sweetener in this bread, and my honey is crystallized. I get it from some friends who have a beet farm close to us. Because it's crystallized, I'm going to put it in this warm milk and let it start to soften up as well, and those crystals will dissolve. We're going in with 6 tablespoons of honey in this recipe. That's about what I have, so I'm just going to get all of it out of this jar. We will let this mixture sit here for about 5 minutes, and that yeast is really going to come alive and become bubbly so that our bread will raise up high. Our yeast mixture has proofed. It's nice and bubbly, so we are just going to pour it into our mixer. And then we're going to add 6 cups of flour. I like to put about 2 cups in there and then start mixing, and then add the other 4 as it's going. And this is the reason. So depending on the weather, how humid it is, how dry it is, how warm it is, plays a factor in how much flour and how much moisture you're going to need to add into your bread. I added about 5.5 cups instead of 6 today, and I have a perfect dough. I forgot I ran out of salt. We're going to go in with 2 teaspoons of salt. This is a perfect dough. You can see that it is not sticking to the sides. It is still sticky to the touch. It's nice and soft. It doesn't stick to my fingers. So I'm just gonna let this knead for about 5 minutes. While that bread is kneading, I'm gonna tell you about the coolest thing that happened today. So my husband is a diesel mechanic, and he has been looking on Facebook Marketplace for a really big snap-on toolbox in used condition at a decent price. And he's been looking for about a year now, on and off. But really, we had never found anything in our budget. And then last night, late at night, we did, and we were able to get a hold of the guy and meet him this morning in Northwest Arkansas, which is about an hour-and-a-half drive from our house. I wasn't gonna go. He had to leave here at 6:30, 6:45 this morning, and I am not a morning person, but I decided to tag along and spend some time with my husband. And we pulled up to this really nice storage building. And I told Corey, wouldn't it be cool if we went into the storage building, and when he opened it up, there was gonna be tons of canning jars. And we just kind of laughed like we were there for a toolbox. He probably wasn't gonna have canning jars. And so we followed this guy through this maze of storage building, and we went in, and he opened his up, and it's a sliding door, and he slid it open, and there's this huge toolbox that's taking up most of the storage building, and on top of it are mason jar boxes. And Corey's like, look, and I just thought like, oh, you know, it's probably just boxes with tools and stuff in it. And the guy's like, oh, do you like canning jars? And I'm like, yeah, I can a lot. I preserve a huge amount of food for our family. And he's like, well, you can have all of these jars. I'm flying to Australia in the next couple weeks, and I can't take them with me. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, we were just saying, what if you had canning jars in there? How cool that would be. So that was my little bit of a blessing for the day. I got some free canning jars from a complete stranger in a situation that was just turned out to be really cool. He was a nice guy, and we chatted for a little bit, and I got some free canning jars out of it. So I was super excited today, and that really just made my day. This bread is finished, so I like to just let it rest here in my mixing bowl. Pull it all off of my hook. Gosh. This is what we have. I'm just going to throw a towel over the top and let it set until it has doubled. So right now it is 3:30. This typically takes about an hour. It is a little bit cooler of a day, so it may take a little bit longer than that. We will see. I'll have the oven on though, so that should provide some warmth for it to rise really well. Next up is our pumpkin spice granola. We're going to go in with 3 cups of rolled oats. A 1/4 cup of brown sugar. Teaspoon and a half of cinnamon. And then 3/4 of a teaspoon of ginger and nutmeg. Oh. Half a teaspoon of cloves and allspice. Some vanilla. Whatever oil you prefer. So you can use like a coconut oil, which is what I'm using, but you can also use a sunflower seed oil, vegetable oil, butter, whatever you like to use is just fine. I was hoping I had enough melted there in the top that I wasn't going to have to scoop in, but I didn't. So this is pretty melty, just because I guess apparently my cabinets are warm, which is great. I don't have to melt it now for this recipe. If it's cold when you're making this and your coconut oil is solid, you are going to want to melt it down just a little bit. half a cup of pumpkin puree. And then half a cup of whatever add-ins that you would like. You can go in with any type of nut or dried fruit. I'm going to go with some pumpkin seeds and stick with the pumpkin theme. And we're just going to get this mixed up really well. We're going to spread this out on a baking sheet and then put it in the oven at 325 degrees. And we're going to stir it every 15 minutes until it is nice and golden brown. It should take about 35 to 45 minutes. Next up is going to be some pumpkin spice coffee creamer. I love my morning cup of coffee. It's funny because I didn't drink coffee until after my third baby. And at that point I was like, all right, I've got to add something into my routine for energy. I hated the smell before I hated the taste. And honestly, what I drink probably can't even be called coffee because it has just as much creamer as it does coffee in it. But I like it. It's my sweet treat for the day usually. And it gives me that little perk of caffeine that I need. So I have never made this recipe before. Hopefully it's delicious. I've seen lots of other people make it and it always looks really good. But we're going to go in with a whole can of sweetened condensed milk. I will say I was talking about how my coffee probably isn't really that great for me. And I did cut myself off of those flavored creamers that you buy from the store and switched over to just sugar in half and half or brown sugar in half and half, which I really like as well. Just because those creamers are obviously really terrible for you. This, although it is sweet and does have a lot of sugar in it, doesn't have a ton of just garbage ingredients. So I feel like personally that is still healthier than any of those flavored creamers that you would buy at the store. We're going to go in with 4 tablespoons of pumpkin puree. A 1.5 teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice. 2 cups of half and half. And then a little glug of vanilla. Put on a lid and a ring, and then we are going to shake this until it's all combined. And we have some delicious creamer for our coffee. I cannot wait for my next cup. Look at this beautiful dough. It has more than doubled and is ready to go into our bread pans now. So what I like to do is just punch this dough down. Remember, we doubled the batch so I can make 2 loaves. All right, and don't make this harder than it seems. All you need to do is put the seams of the bread on the bottom. So I just do a few tucks and a few rolls, make myself a little bread log. Just like that. and then into your greased bread pan. We will cover those back up and let them rise again. The next thing we're gonna make are date Snickers bars. So dates are new to me. If you've never had them, this is what they look like. They are a dehydrated fruit. I had one when I got this bag, and they are sweet. They're almost like caramely flavored. So this is what they look like in the middle. Mine are already pitted, but if yours aren't, you're gonna wanna take the pit out. I'm trying to remember. You probably want to grease this pan first. So we're just going to line this pan with these dates. Now, if you are a TikToker, you have probably seen a version of this on TikTok where they stuff the dates with peanut butter and then dip them in chocolate. That's kind of time consuming, and time consuming is not my thing. So I found these date bars where it's all of the same ingredients, but much simpler. You just lay it all out and layer it, and I'm hoping that they are going to be delicious. Some peanut butter here that I am gonna put into a bowl and melt a little bit so that I can get it evenly over the top of those dates. I'm doing, I don't know, a little more than half of a cup, I feel like. I'm just using some chocolate chips, and I'm going to melt them in the microwave in 30-second increments, stirring in between until I have a smooth chocolate. This is after the first 30 seconds. We still pretty much just have solid chocolate chips. This is the second 30 seconds. We are starting to melt just a little bit. And this is the third 30 seconds. It is going to stir into a nice creamy chocolate now. We are going to top this with some crushed peanuts, and because mine are unsalted, we're going to top it with a little bit of salt as well. And these are going in the fridge until they are solid. Our granola is ready to come out of the oven. It smells so good. And our bread is ready to go in. Look at this beautiful loaf. Do you see how it's about an inch above the top of my baking pan? That's how I know it's ready to go into the oven. Bread is ready to come out of the oven. It's been 35 minutes, so not quite 40. And look at this beautiful loaf of bread. I like to turn my loaves out right away to start cooling. If you leave them in your bread pan too long, they will condensate, and then the bottom of your bread will be soggy. Our granola is completely cool now, so we're just going to put it into this mason jar for storage. All right, here's the real test. Does it taste like a Snickers? Oh, it's not exact Snickers, but it's really good. And it's pretty close. Thank you so much, friends, for hanging out with me in the kitchen today. We are set for the next week at least with bread, with granola for our breakfast, with some delicious coffee creamer, and with some of these date Snickers bars. I love having you in the kitchen, and I look forward to many more days with you. Until next time, may God bless.